My name is Toni Blackman. I am an artist and an educator. How many educators we have in the room? Woo! Right? So, being that I'm an artist, I talk in many different ways. I talk through speech, I talk through writing, and I talk through rap. Here we go. Y'all ready? Be convinced, there's no coincidence, only consequence when events have significance. Since you gotta let faith be your evidence, let fear be at a distance, let the light shine, ooh, feel the luminescence. The essence of belief can be a two-headed beast. One who sees hunger and one who sees the feast. One who sees the glass full, the other sees it empty. One who sees despair, one who sees possibility. Believe and get your mind and your heart in sync. Believe, choose the thoughts that you think. Believe we can do it. Believe we gonna get through it. Believe, am I right, Miss Nunez? Believe we can do it. Believe we gonna get through it. Believe, right? Believe. So we've already heard one speaker began to talk about belief and why believing is so important. And so I wanted to reference believing. I got inspired by this Facebook post, I know. I posted on Facebook about my 5th grade teacher, Mr. Brown. And when I was 10 years old, I was running for school secretary. And I had a campaign speech to deliver. And I wrote the hell out of this speech because I was such a good writer, you know? But I was not a good speaker. So I went on stage, the paper was shaking, my voice was quivering, my palms were sweating, and I did a horrible job. I walked to the side of the stage, I took a step, missed the next step, and boop, 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 in front of the whole school. So I don't remember being hurt, but I remember crying a lot. And I remember Mr. Brown, his face. And it was after that, Mr. Brown said, we need to talk, stay after school. And I sat in the classroom waiting for him to get there after he got all the students out. And Mr. Brown was the winningest kickball coach in all of Highlands Elementary School history. Mr. Forrest Brown, yes, I remember his whole name, did not play. He was not into losing. And we get speeches like Phil Jackson probably gave the Bulls about kickball, right? And so he used kickball as this metaphor for life, for everything. And so he talked to me about winning, and you gotta know how bad you wanna win. But that day he gave me a speech about life. And the speech was really saying the ground rules about preparation and planning and dreaming and visioning and strategic thinking, but he kept it very basic and simple. And he said, first rule, Toni, your best friend can't be your campaign manager. It's not good for business. Second, be clear about your goal and have a plan. He's like, did you have a plan? I was like, yeah. But our plan wasn't beyond putting up posters, right? And he was like, and the other thing is you gotta believe. The young woman I saw on that stage did not believe in herself. And he was right. So there I was at 10 years old receiving a lecture that really should be reserved for a college freshman. But he knew I was ready for it. See, I was deep, one of those kids. I could absorb it. And I took it so seriously. And I started to talk to him. He said, Toni, what do you want beyond school secretary? You've got a whole life, kiddo. And I started to cry again. And I said, I want to be a writer. I want to be a poet. I want to be published. I want to speak. I want to be a great orator, and I suck. And I thought I was going to get in trouble because, you know, back in those days, they didn't let you say suck. You couldn't even say damn. You couldn't say liar. Remember? We would get in trouble. God bless TV and now what they let happen. But let me stay on focus. So there I was, and I was crying, and he was like, Toni, here are great speakers that I like. And he started to tell me the speakers he liked. And I was like, yo, Mr. Brown has favorite speakers. So then we started to exchange information, and he was like, here's what you gotta do. You gotta study great speakers. Take notes. Write down quotes and proverbs and things that you like about what they're saying and doing. And every chance you get to speak, take it. I don't care how scared you are, how nervous you are, you take it. And at 10 years old, that day at Highlands Elementary School on Harvard Street in Pittsburgh, California, I made a commitment to become a speaker, to be paid to speak, and to be able to use my speech to help people. And that's what I ended up doing. In the 6th grade, I ran again, but Chuck Gomez won because he was cute, and the girls liked him. 7th grade was a massive depression. I was suicidal at best. But 8th grade, I don't know what happened. The light came on. I started to see it and shine it. And I was in Mr. Massey's English composition classroom with Paul Doolittle and Darmel Brown. They helped me write my speech for school president. That was my first standing ovation. And fast forward years later to Howard University. I was there in Washington, D.C., clear across the country with only enough money for first semester and half of the second. I was a mediocre walk-on the volleyball team. Those girls hit that ball. I was like, I don't really play volleyball. So I quit. I went to the School of Communications and I joined the speech team. Because what could I do well? By this time, I had learned how to run my mouth. I begged the coach, I gotta stay here. I don't have money for school. I need money for school. Can you help me? She said, here's what you gotta do, and I did it. And Mr. Brown's voice was in my head the whole time. The entire time. I paid for my BA as a scholarship competitor, competing across the country. I paid for my master's as a coach of the team. And that standing ovation, Paul Doolittle doesn't remember, but he came up with the final line of my speech. Remember that name. Remember that name. And yes, those were the gestures we rehearsed. Remember that name. Remember that name. Toni D. Blackman. And the D stands for does her duty. And then walk off. And the crowd went wild in the gymnasium. And the students, the teachers got hella pissed off at me because the students went crazy. And then my BFFs, Laverne Rice and Felicia Gaines, were in the back. The whole school started clapping. And it was, the rest is history, as they say, you know? And it brings me back to this essence of believing. And that some of the greatest belief coaches are teachers. There are parents, then there's the teachers. And guess what? People who didn't have parents, everybody still has a teacher. And those teachers have such great power and influence that it is shameful the way teachers are underappreciated in our society. So I stand here today because of Mrs. Simonton and Mr. Brown and Mrs. Rice, and because of Mr. David Littleton, also known as Baloo, and the late Mr. Pizzamenti, and Miss Ann Morris, and my mentors. I think Josh was talking about mentors who were teachers who become your mentors. Ethelbert Miller and Deborah Minkard. Deborah Minkard, who founded Teaching for Change, is a progressive teaching organization in Washington, D.C., pushed me into teaching hip-hop. I was teaching an immigrant mothers program in the D.C. City Public Schools. And then she says, you're going to teach teachers. I said, oh, no. I was afraid of teachers because teachers are smart and teachers like to know what's going to happen in the workshop and they like to know what's going to go on and teachers want an outline and teachers want an agenda. And I'm an intuitive facilitator. I really don't like this planning thing. But there I was, and then these teachers weren't getting their checks. This was the mid-90s, DC public schools. The teachers weren't getting paid, but they were still showing up to teach. But it ended up going well. And Deborah Minkard set the groundwork for my entire destiny. I became the first U.S. hip-hop ambassador, a woman. I've traveled to 41 different countries. I'm a teaching artist now at Carnegie Hall, and this happened because of my teachers. Imagine if I had not been pushed, because I would not have done this on my own. And now I'm here, and one of the things that excites her most and makes her most proud, she doesn't care that I went to Paris and Brazil. She cares that I am here. This makes a difference. And I love making her proud and making a difference because she helped me make my life, right? And so as I'm trying to figure out how I want to close, I want to talk the way she ended up, this is why I do what I do. I facilitate ciphers. Ciphers represent 360 degrees. They are circles of sharing. The circles that are used in kindergarten, I just remind everyone else those circles are relevant and important to our existence and our learning process, to our healing and our transformation. But I accompany it with hip hop music. You know, my book, Wisdom of the Cipher, is coming out, and I facilitate ciphers not only for rap artists now, but for people of all professions, using improvisational speaking and poetry and performance. And it is my life's passion. It's like almost become a ministry. And so as I stand here, I want to close with this idea that it's something one of my mentors used to say, teachers create all other professions. Like every single thing needs a teacher. And unfortunately, a lot of rap artists don't realize they need one too. But that's why I do the work that I do. That's my revolution. People say, Toni, why do you do hip hop? You guys know why I do hip hop, right? But there's this space that we need it. And teachers, where there's teaching, there will be learning, right? Because teachers show up. And what I want to leave you all with is something I have to remind myself when I get tired, is this idea that the system will frustrate the heck out of us. It will piss us off. And sometimes it's hard, you're right, it's hard to believe in it, right? But if we keep believing in our students, believing in the students we serve, then we can draw our energy and refill our well there in that space. And believe that not only is it important for us to make sure the students believe in themselves, we have to believe in ourselves. And we have to revisit this concept of believing in self over and over and over again through self-care practices, all right? Taking care of yourself, drinking your water, okay? And so we believing not only that we can make a difference, but believing and knowing that you are the difference. So don't underestimate it. Don't sleep on it. And I want to close with, we have some guest artists that are going to join. I want to close with art. I need to take a couple of quick topics from you. Don't get too complicated, because I know teachers want to show off. Dancing, and then what else? Huh? Fun. Dancing, fun. Candles. Okay, Arizona. Dancing, fun, candles. So these two dancers they also display, dance is one of the elements in hip hop music and culture, as is rap and DJing and the visual art. But also there's the element of vocal percussion, more popularly known as beatboxing and human beatbox. So I just met them 5 minutes ago. So that's also very hip hop. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So I used to tell teachers when I used to do Hip Hop 101, you can put me in an airplane, drop me any place in the world, Slovakia, Sweden, South Africa, Honduras. If you can show me where the hip hop heads are, I can show you that I have a place to sleep tonight and something to eat. And so I challenge people to go beyond their concept of what hip hop is. You guys ready?
All right.
Okay, go ahead.